everyone, and welcome to Read This Now, the weekly webcast where Brad Gustafson and I share two books that we love and that we think you should read right now. What you been reading this week, my friend?
Oh, I got a good one. I got a hot one here, Jen. I haven't been this excited in a long time. Long
I'm
time.
excited.
Do I
Yay!
dive right in or do we let that sizzle for a little bit?
I think that we can hear the sizzling while you dive in.
Nice. All right. All right. It's almost like I'm hearing bacon cooking in the background. But this book is as good as bacon. How's that for a
Oh
hook?
my gosh, that's amazing.
So here's the backstory on this book, and one of the reasons why it feels more like an old friend to me than a new release that I'm unfamiliar with and fell in love with. It really does feel, it's a book that's been part of my journey. So several years ago, and I don't remember the exact year, but several years ago, a friend of mine had wrote a book, a children's picture book. I read it, fell in love with the thing, and was reading it to all the classes at Greenwood just because it was such a simple and powerful message. Like I mean those two words, like simple and powerful. That's the book. And fast forward, I have tons of copies in my office, and recently he re-released the book. I think he had done the art on the first version, but he had a professional illustrator do it. So it's like it'd almost be like one of your favorite books coming, like almost like not a sequel, but like it being reinvented or maybe even improved. And it's like you get to relive all those feels again. So I have in my hands the newly re-emerged, re-arted. That arted is not a word, but that's how I roll, Jen. Re-illustrated. See? Goodness gracious.
I love
Take
it.
two.
Re-arted.
Take two. Bring me back, Jen. Bring me back. Anyway, I have it right here in my hand.
Yes.
And so what do I love about this book other than what I just gushed about? I suppose a big part of what I love is the fact that I know the author really well and have fallen in love with him and his family. I mean, that matters. But I think honestly, before I knew him, I knew this book, right?
Mhm.
So really the book is kind of maybe where a lot of this started. So the book features an unlikely duo or tandem. They weren't friends or connected before, and it's kind of a unique character. So one is an ant and one is a tree. And I use the word tree loosely because it's more of like a twig in the ground. It's a very sad excuse for a tree. And that's part of the problem and part of the storyline. But as the book unfolds, this wonderful relationship blossoms, and both characters, Spruce and Lucy, end up appreciating and valuing each other for who they are, not for who they should be or for who the world tells them they should be or for relative to other trees and ants, but really just like seeing one another. And it's such an authentic thing. And as a school principal, like that's one reason why I love reading it to other classes, because it does hit on a little bit elements of bullying and things like that. But it
Sure.
also is just like one of those stories that helps every single kiddo in the room, like just a reminder, like you matter and
Yeah.
you're good enough and we're here to help and friendship matters and things like that. So here is the newly redesigned cover. And
Drum roll.
I don't always know if Zoom captures the beauty of stuff, but I just think there's still a childlike, nostalgic quality to this. It still has the things I originally fell in love with, simple yet profound. Now I'm going to really zoom in. You can get a peek of Spruce and Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my book. And that's why I was jumping out of my chair when you first caught me today for this book talk. Spruce and Lucy by Todd Nesloney. Highly recommend that you read it now. And if you are lucky enough to be an educator, to introduce it to your kiddos too.
Do you, I couldn't see from when you zoomed in. Can you tell us who the illustrator is also, since it's newly illustrated?
Yep, and I don't know how to say the name, but it looks like Octoon or Oaktoon.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for asking about that.
That's
Yep.
right. Great.
And I love, I do feel like, I'm assuming Todd and the illustrator collaborated because it does capture some of the same spirit that the original book had.
Yeah.
Some of this, just the simplicity of the message I think it makes it even more profound. So I love it. I love it. I love it.
That's awesome. Well, guess what? I have a picture book to share this week as well.
I
So we're
love
on
when
the
you share
same
picture
wave.
books.
I know we're on the same wavelength.
Hold on, let me open my Amazon account right now.
Okay. That's usually what happens,
Yeah,
right? We end up
yeah.
having to buy each other's books, which is amazing. This book it's interesting because we're sort of traveling somewhat parallel paths here this week without ever planning, as usual, right? This book was sent to me by our friend, John Shu. So again, connection to a friend that made me read the book to begin with. And it's a picture book he said he thought I would enjoy. And I have so much to share about this book, but it's called The Camping Trip, and it's by Jennifer K. Mann. And I'm going to be perfectly transparent here and say that while I think the cover is perfectly lovely, a book about a camping trip, I don't know that I would have been drawn to this book immediately, right? But when your friend sends it to you and says you need to read this, then of course you do. So because I went to the School of Picture Book Adoration taught by Mr. John Schumacher, then I know to do a few things when I'm reading a picture book. The first, I know, right? I'm not going to smell it, but
Okay.
I am going to take off the dust jacket to reveal this beautiful hard case, which I'm going to go
Amazing.
back to later, okay?
Mhm.
And it's kind of hard to see, I'm sure, on Zoom, but the whole cover is a panorama. So you see the remaining part of the woods on the other side, okay?
Love,
Then
love, love.
looking at the liner notes, the liner pages, gosh, I'm getting that name wrong. The pages, I think they are the liner pages. You can see that it's all items that you would take on a camping trip. And this really spoke to my heart because as a kid, I loved those Richard Scarry books like Busy Town, which I don't know if you remember those, Brad, but one of the heroes was this little worm. And when all of the pages in Busy Town were just tons of things on there. And part of the fun was trying to look for the worm in the pages and also look for other things. If the worm was talking about something, he needed to try to find it amidst all the other things in Busy Town. As a kid, I read those books a bajillion and a half times. That's the technical term. So I love illustrations like this where you can search for things. And so the story is about this girl who gets invited to go on a camping trip with her aunt and her cousin. And we can tell from the story that the girl, lives in the city. She lives in a city. She's never been camping before, but she's really excited and she's thrilled when her dad says, yes, she can go on the camping trip with her aunt and her cousin. So her aunt gives her this whole packing list of things to take on the camping trip. And so then we have more illustrations like this as she's getting ready to camp. One of the things that's important on this list is her doll Foxy, you can see, who's in the camping supplies. They become very important as the story goes on, but I won't give it away now. And then, so I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, this reminds me of Busy Town and I love it. But then I get to this page. And at that point, when I got to this page, I had to stop and take a video of this page and send it to several friends because I found it so impressive. This 2-page layout is their journey on the camping trip. And Brad, I don't know if you can see, first of all, that to me looks a lot like Seattle. You can see sort of a space needle. And it's hard to see on Zoom, but as they take the journey, all of the different elements in the landscape are collage. Can you see the print in the mountains?
Yes.
I mean, and it's like
What's the print from, Jen? Do we know?
I have no idea. Looks like it probably was old book pages that were made into collage that's been reproduced. And as it's hard to see on Zoom, but in the pages you can see that the road was definitely a collage material. All the different landscapes in their journey changes. It almost looks like wallpaper that was used, okay? It's just super impressive. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so gorgeous. And then when we get into the woods, what happens is this is her first night away from home. She doesn't enjoy the things of camping nearly as much as she thinks she's going to. At first, she's afraid to go into the lake. She doesn't like the food. She's away from home. She's scared. The ground is uncomfortable. She misses her dad. There's no cell service, so she can't call him. And so in the middle of the night, she's in the tent and she's afraid. And her aunt says, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go look at the stars together. And they all get out of the tent and go out to the dock. And that's when we have a repeat of this beautiful, beautiful scene.
I love
when they're
that.
out looking in the stars. And I feel like this book, it's such a fun little adventure, a romp into the woods for the first time. She gets to swim with fish. She tries a s'more. She does all these things that she's never had that opportunity to do before. I think as adults, the art we will really, really appreciate. But I think even little learners will appreciate this idea of being away from home for the first time and what that feels like and having someone there to comfort you through that. So it is The Camping Trip, and it's by Jennifer K. Mann. And I think you should read this right now. I just loved it.
I'm sold.
And I will say this, I'm going to go on a record right now. It's definitely one of my favorite picture books of 2020. Just came out. In fact, today might be the release date. So
Hey, that's big. You don't often say that, Jen. So
I know, going on record. So
let's go.
Brad, 2 great books this week, inspired by 2 great friends. What could be better other than a page where all of our 2 listeners could go and check out our archives? Where might that be, my friend?
Right. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we had a bunch of videos featuring books that are amazing? Just like a click away so people could either watch a video or just see the list. That would be so cool.
That would be amazing. Make our dreams come true, Brad.
All right. bit.ly/read_this_now.
What's that? I feel like I hear that bacon sizzling again in the background. That's how hot this is.
Love it.
Lord. Have a great week. Happy reading.